Beruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Kuf Lamed Beis Amud Beis. 9 lines from the top. The Gemara now brings a bryce in regards to bris milah. When there's tzaras on that person's foreskin, what to do? Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanon, Mila doiche es hatzaras, bein bizmana, bein shlo bizmana. Whether the bris milah comes out to be on the 8th day, or whether it's on a different day, nonetheless, a bris milah is doiche the tzaras. Yom Tiv eino doiche la bizmana bilvad. However, the Brisa says when it comes to Yom Tif, then bris milah is only doiche Yom Tif when it's bizmana on the 8th day, just like when it's doiche Shabbos, only when it comes out to be that the 8th day is on Shabbos. The Gemara now discusses the first part of this Brisa. Minah hanimili. Where do we know that indeed the milah is doiche tzaras? The Tanu Rabbanan, the Gemara brings a Brisa. Yimol besar or loso. It says in the pasuk, Uviyom hashmini yimol besar or losoi. Ve'afal pi sheyesh shom baheretz yakutz. Even though there is a baheres, there's tzaras on the foreskin, nonetheless one does the bris milah. Mani mekayem hishamer beneget tzaras. What do I do with the pasuk, which is a lav? Every time it says al pen and hishomer, it refers to a lav, and here it says hishomer benegat tzaras. There's a lav to remove the tzaras. Bishar mekoymois chutz mimila. The Brisa says that's talking about in all other situations, with the exception of bris milah. And therefore, again, when the tzaras is found in the place where the bris milah must be done, then the milah is doiche the tzaras. The Brisa continues, oy ein oy ella afilu milah. Or maybe it includes even a prohibition when there's milah as well, and therefore one cannot then do bris milah when there is tzaras on the foreskin. Umani mekayim yimol besar Allah. So then what do I do with the pasuk that he shall then give a bris milah on the 8th day? Bisman she'ein ba baheres. That's talking about a situation when there is no tzaras. Talmud loymar bisar. Therefore there's an extra word in the pasuk, Bayom hashmini yimol bisar or losoi. Bisar, basar, is superfluous. And therefore we learn from there, Afli sheyesh shom baheres. Omar Rava now asks on this brisa that we just quoted. Hai tana mi'ikara, my nicholei, ulvasoif ma kashyalei. Rava asked, similar to what he asked earlier. He asked over here the same question. What did the Tana mean to say in the Brisa? That he switched gears. In the beginning it was nechet to him, and then all of a sudden something changed. What was the necha, the nichus in the beginning, and what was the kashya in the latter part of the Brisa? Explains the Gemara. Hachika Omar. This is what the Tana initially said. Yemol bisar olasoi. One gives a bris milah on the 8th day, even if there is indeed tzaras on the foreskin. Umani mekayim hishomer benegat tzaras. So what do I do with the pasuk that you cannot remove tzaras? Bishar mekoymois chutz mimila. That's talking about every situation, and milah is an exception to that. Aval milah doiche es tzaras. Now he goes explains my taimo. What is this based on? Da'asik mikal Uma Shabbos chamura mila doicha, as even though Shabbos is chamur, still bris milah is doicha Shabbos when it comes out to bismana. Tzaras lo koshken. Is it then not a koshken that milah should be doicha tzaras? That was what the Tana held in the beginning, but then he had a suffix, and he continues umay oy. The Brisa explains the Gemara explains the Brisa. What did he mean when he said oy einoi? When he said maybe, perhaps differently. Hodar ka'oma. This is what he then returned to say. Mimai de Shabbos de chamira. Now he's questioning the very fact: is Shabbos indeed more chamur than tzaras? He built his limud on a kal vachomer, that since Shabbos is more chamur and milah is doiche Shabbos, then kal v'chaymer, then milah will be doichet tzaras. Now he's questioning, maybe indeed Shabbos is not more chomer than tzaras, but rather tzaras is more chomer than milah. Dilma tzaras chamira. Shekein doiche es ha'avoida. Ve'avoida doiche es ha'Shabbos. Because tzaras is doiche avoida, and therefore, avoid is doiche Shabbos. So we see that avoid that tzaras is more chomer than Shabbos, and therefore the whole kal v'chomer doesn't stand. Talmud loymar bisar. Then he concluded in the brisa, but it says in the pasuk that it's superfluous word of basar. It says Bayom Hashmini bisar yimol bisar or losoi. Could have just said Bayom Hashmini yimol or losoi. The fact is bisar. That word basar is coming to teach me v'afal pi sheyesh sham baheres. The Gemara now brings another lashon to explain the shakla v'tarya between the Tana and himself, as we just did, but in a different way. Lishna achrina, mila doiche es hatzaras. Mila is doiche tzaras. That means to say that if again there's tzaras ba'oiso makoim, and he has to then remove the tzaras ayedei doing the bris milah, so then it's doiche. My taima. So here we explain differently. What's the reason? Not like we said before because of a kal v'chomer, but as follows: the osi essay. The essay, the assay of bris milah is doiche the loisa assay of tzaras. Umay oy eno dekamar. So what then did the Tana come back and had a suffix and changed gears? Hodar kamar. This is what he then returned to say. Mordamin the osi essay v'dachi es loisa assay. When do we say this principle that a mitzvah assay is doiche a mitzvah loisa aseh? Loisa aseh greater, that's when it's a loisa aseh alone. Then the mitzvah aseh is doiche that loisa aseh. But hai aseh, v'loisa asehu. But this is in mitzvah aseh and loisa aseh. And I'll read you the pasuk that says it. Ushishomer b'negat hatzaras. That's the lav, that's the loisa aseh. And now it goes on to say the pasuk, lishmor me'oy v'lasois. And to do, it's now the aseh, Kekol asher yoru eschem hakohanim halavim kasher tzivisim tishmeu la'asois, and you should then follow the dictates of the kohanim when they instruct you in regards to the tzaras. So we have a positive mitzvah and a negative mitzvah. So therefore, the asay does not doiche the asay and loisa asay. Umani mekayim yimol besar olosut. The Brisa concluded, though, what therefore do I do with the pasuk that talking about mitzvahs mila bismano, bisman shein ba baheres? I say then that's talking about when you do not have baheres, when there's no baheres in that makom, then indeed there's a bris milah on the 8th day. Talmud lamar besar. That's why the superfluous word of basar comes to teach me afal pi sheyesh ba baheres. So that's the explanation of the Brisa, two different ways of explaining, either through the kal v'chomer or through the principle of essay is doiche only a loisa asay, but it's not doiche nasay and loisa asay, whereby we need the pasuk. In both cases, we thought we had a kal v'chomer in the first explanation. Then he changed gears and said we need a pasuk of basar. In the second explanation, we thought we had a essay as doiche loisa asay, and we pushed that up by saying that it's not because it's an asay and loisa asay, whereby we came on to the pasuk at the end as well. Okay, says the Gemara, Tenach Gadol. This is all very good in regards to a Gadol, somebody who is above the age of bar mitzvah. He's a bar oinshin, and therefore the pasuk of basar appears. Dichsiv bei basar, because the pasuk states ve'oral zachar asher lo yimol es basar or losoi v'nichres nefesh hayme'ameh es brisi hofer. If he does not make himself a bris milah after the age of bar mitzvah, where it's a bar oinshin, it says he will get kores. So we're talking about a gadol, and therefore it says a superfluous word of a bisar. Katanami ksiv be bisar, and the katan, when it's a bris milah bezman on the 8th day, that's the pasuk we began with and been speaking about, says Bayom Hashmini yimol bisar or losoi. So we have a gadol and we have a katan. But ask the Gemara, beinoni minolan. But where do you have a situation where it's not a katan on the 8th day, and it's not a gadol who's a bar oinshin? It's a bris milah that was nidche. And therefore, how do you have a situation with a child who did not have his bris milah on the 8th day? Where do we know that indeed such a situation will be doiche the tzaras? Omar Abaye, Asya mi beinayo. Abaye says it comes from the two. In other words, we learn out from both the Gadol and the Katan. We can't learn out from each individual. However, we can learn a Tzad HaShoveh. Mi Gadol loy Asya. We can't learn from a Gadol alone as a Mametzinu Shekain Anush Kores, because it has the Chumrah that there's a Chiyuv Kores. So we can't learn that out to a Beinoni. Mi Katan loy Asya. We can't learn out from a Katan because Shekain Mila Bizmana. So that's unique to the Katan. So Hatzad HaShoveh shebehem, we can use both the Gadol and the Katan to learn a limud of Hatzad HaShoveh. Shekain nimolin v'doichin es hatzaras. Both the Gadol and the Katan are nimolin and are doichet tzaras. Af kol shenimolin doichin es hatzaras. And so too, even the Beinoni, we can learn out that the Bris Milah is doichet es hatzaras. Rava Amar. Now Rava says the following: Mila bizmano is doichet. He says that we don't need a pasuk to teach me that Mila is Bizmana because we have a Kal V'chomer as follows. Mikal V'chomer Asya. For the classical case, we can use a Kal V'chomer. Uma Shabbos Dicha Miro Doiche. If Mila is Doiche Shabbos, which is so chamur, Tzaras like Koshken, certainly then Mila should be Doiche Tzaras. And therefore, the pasuk is freed up to teach me about the Beinoni. Omar le Rav Safra le Rave. Rav Safra now wants to ask on Rava's Kal V'chomer to say that indeed you do need the pasuk for Beinoni, you do need the pasuk because you can't learn a Kal V'chomer. So therefore you need the pasuk for Mila Bizmana. Mimai de Shabbos Chamiro, asked Rav Safra to Rava, your whole Kal V'chomer is based on the fact that Shabbos is more chamer than Tzaras, but who said? Dilma Tzaras Chamiro, maybe Tzaras is more chamor. Shekain doiches ha'avoida, ve'avoida doiches ha'Shabbos, because after all, that the Tzaras is doiche avoida, and avoida is doiche Shabbos. So we see that Tzaras has more of a chumrah, is more chamor than Shabbos, and therefore the whole Kal V'chomer doesn't stand. And Memela again, you need the pasuk for the Zman of Mila on the 8th day. Gemara says no, Hasam. Rava answers back. The Gemara answers back on behalf of Rava against Rav Safra. Hasam la mishum de chamira tzaras. There, it's not because tzaras is really doiche avoida to say that tzaras is more chamur. Ela mishum de gavru hu de loy chazi. It's because the person himself is not going to be fitting to do the avoida, but not because tzaras intrinsically is more stringent. Amai. Asked Rav Safra why? V'yakutz b'hartoi v'yavoid. There's no tuma involved, and therefore, what's the problem? Let him then cut out the baheres, the tzaras, and do the avoida. Elamai, says Rav Safra, must be that indeed the tzaras is doiche avoida. It's more chamur than Shabbos. Answers the Gemara, no, mechusar tevilahu. It is mechusar tevila. And therefore, if he's missing in tevila, he can't do the avoida. He's not fitting to do the avoida. So even if he were to cut out the tzaras, he couldn't do the avoida. So you see that indeed, that it's not that tzaras itself is intrinsically more chamur. Teinach negoim. But the Gemara asks, that's all good when it comes to negoim, that's tmeim, whereby he'll then have to be toivel in the mikvah. Negoim taharim ma'ika lemeimar. But negoim that are taharim, what are you going to say? Then he doesn't have to be toivel, and therefore you should be able to then be cutting out the tzaras and do the avodah. Elamai must be that we see that the tzaras is doiche the avodah because you don't cut that out. Elam Rav Ashi, rather Rav Ashi explains that indeed the Kal V'chomer does stand, and that indeed we don't say that tzaras is more chamur. Because when do we say the principle that mitzvah's aseh is doiche loisa aseh? That's when they come together. That when you do the mitzvah's aseh, then there's the loisa aseh present. Then at the same time, kigon mila betzaras, since there's tzaras, so then the aseh is doiche the loisa aseh because the moment that he does the bris milah, there's tzaras that he's removing. Inami tzitzis v'kilayim. Or if a person has a beged made out of linen, and he then puts tzitzis, that is wool, so there, the Torah permits that, even though you're not allowed to have kilayim. But here there's a a mitzvah asay of tzitzis that's doiche the loisa asay of kilayim. The bedeidna the misakir lav kamuki asay. The moment that you then are going to then uproot the lav, at that moment you're doing the asay in both of these scenarios, both in the case of mila betzaras and tzitzis on kilayim. Hocha, but over here in regards to the taras and avoida, it's not the case. Hocha beidna the misakir lelav loy kamukim asay. When you're going to then be over the lav by excising out the tzaras, he's not yet doing the avoida, and therefore it's not happening simultaneously. So therefore, indeed, we don't say that the avoida is intrinsically more chamur. Says the Gemara, V'hod the Rava of Rav Safra. This is what Rava and Rav Safra were saying in terms of learning out to the Beinoni. Tanoihi, it's a machloikis tanoim. On top of Kuflam and Gimel, the Tanya, it says in the Braiso, Bisar, V'afal pisha yeshom baheres yimol. Even though there is a baheres, there's saras on that makoim, you still make the bris milah because milah is doiche es hatzaras. Div Rabbi Yoshaya. Rabbi Yonasan oimer eino tzorich. Rabbi Yonasan says you don't need the pasuk because Shabbos is chamura doiche. That if Shabbos, which is chamura, and still bris milah is doiche the Shabbos. Tzaras lo kol sheken, certainly then the bris milah is doiche Shabbos. So it comes out that Rabbi Yonasan, the latter opinion, that says like Rava, that indeed you have a kal vachomer, whereby it frees up the pasuk to teach me that the Beinoni is the one who the pasuk is referring to, where we know he then also has the bris milah as doiche es tzaras. Whereas the first opinion, this Braisa, Rabbi Yoshaya, that is saying that we need the pasuk itself, like Rav Safra, that instead of using the pasuk itself, we have to come on to the tzad hashava to teach me that the Beinoni, who has a bris milah, the bris milah is doiche es hatzaras.